Back to your question. How to increase bhakti rasa? My answer, follow Rupa Goswami. Recognize the glories. How much nectar does these 2 syllables of Krishna have? I cannot say. And when I'm chanting, so when you're chanting, pronounce the words carefully. I mean, you can chant swiftly, but pronounce the words carefully, not mushy. And then the way to make sure that you're chanting the words carefully is by hearing. And when you're hearing carefully, the mind, the sound goes to the heart, the mind becomes captured, the restless, wandering mind becomes captured, and that's when the rasa will stay and not come and go. Now, it takes practice because the mind is restless and you want what you want. You want bhakti rasa or something. You want to feel something.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, somehow I might confused with mind versus heart. Like
No.
mostly we are chanting more consciously. It goes here. Like
No.
mind is not wandering
That's
though.
you're missing the, just keep it simple. The mind is not your head. The mind is the faculty of where the senses gather information from the senses. That's where it goes to the mind. And there's functions, thinking, feeling, willing. And then there's the heart. And that's what was going on inside. It's distinct from the mind. It's connected to the mind, but it's distinct from the mind. Now, I don't want to go with it further, because then it becomes a kind of esoteric thing. It's quite simple. Hear very carefully. Vibrate carefully. Hear very attentively. Rapt attention, using Prabhupada's phrase. With your spiritual ear, using Bhaktisiddhanta's phrase. And when that sound enters into the courtyard of the heart, the mind becomes captured or stunned or still. And the senses become inert, and everything is, you're approaching eternality. And that's Krishna. And then comes the rasa, because you're with Krishna, and Krishna's there, but we're out to lunch. Enough. I'm going to say it again. Just pray to Rupa Goswami to understand this nice verse. Meditate on it, and he'll help you get there. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the wonderful and enlightening session. I just wondering on one of the slide that you're showing about the different books which Rupa Goswami has written, and one of them was like all the list of 16 astounding work. So how one can make oneself eligible to read, like when we heard about the name of those who like Lalit Ganodesh Deepika and Brihat Ganodesh Deepika, all those which are very internal pastimes of Radha Krishna and intimate pastimes, we can say of. So is it possible for a living or for a normal person, like I can give my example, like me, when I go through it, I'm not able to understand it all. It's like how we can make ourselves eligible for that. Because for me, I've just started reading Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and part of that, but up to that level, if we need to increase, what exactly the plus factor we need to have? If you can help, Maharaj.
Start with your chanting. Start with following Rupa Goswami by following his standard of chanting, his method and standard of chanting. And when that orientation of the tongue, the ear, and the heart is in alignment, then you're eligible. or you're increasing your eligibility as you're increasing that alignment, and you can stay there, then your eligibility is increasing. Don't be so anxious to go to those writings that Prabhupada didn't make available to us yet. But I recommend, because you're asking, I recommend that you very carefully study the Bhakti Shastri, and then the Bhagavatam, and everything, the essence of everything that's in the Goswami's writings is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj did. He took the essence of the Goswami's writings, which is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and presented it systematically in an organized, intelligible fashion, tablamized fashion in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's still really elevated. And then there's Prabhupada's purports that makes reference to Bhakti Siddhanta and Bhakti Vinod and his own. Go to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Don't worry about, the more esoteric literatures, etc., etc. Just take these are very elevated texts. Be happy that
Sure.
Prabhupada has given them, and that Krishnadas Kaviraj has given them.
Yeah.
And you won't be feeling you're missing out.
Thank you, Maharaj. It's really helpful.
And discuss in the company of others that wish to understand these fundamental teachings, and associate with them and discuss with them.
Sure. Thank you.
This is an online question, Maharaj. It asks, Dear Guru Maharaj, in the pastime of the old Brahmana getting offended by Rupa Goswami's external laughter, can I say or understand there's also a lesson that we as sadhakas should also not unnecessarily feel disrespected or offended by apparent actions of other Vaishnavas?
Sure. Go and ask them. I mean, be transparent and very open in your relationships with others. If you feel something, say something. And, just seek clarification. Not, point fingers and say, why you make me feel like this? I felt this. I don't really understand. Maybe you can help me understand. Like that. Or, just leave it alone. Something that we're going to hear about Raghunath Bhatta Goswami is he never entertained such topics. We hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's others that didn't entertain such topics. Haridas Pandit, his name is mentioned. He did discuss these things. Because specifically, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami saw Vaishnavas, they're serving the Lord. And whatever there is, they're serving the Lord. And that was where his attention was going. And by that higher consciousness, he was able to elevate people to higher consciousness. No, not that everyone has to do what he did, but that's what he did. Okay. Anything else? Is there something? That's it online. Over here, anything? You're absorbed in the children. Okay, yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Sometimes, like new devotees, like when they start chanting, they're in a little bit confusion whether to increase the quality of the chanting or to increase the number of rounds. So how to balance both of them?
You do both. Why one versus the other?
So sometimes they don't.
I'm saying it's artificial. So it's artificial. So 16 minimum, And if you can increase quantitatively, fantastic. And you can always increase qualitatively. So priority goes to qualitative. And if one can quantitatively increase, fantastic. Without compromising the attention to quality. Many devotees are struggling just to do the quantity, frankly. Maybe there's lots of devotees that aren't, but devotees that are in that they're maintaining and have been maintaining quantity, stay with it. Become qualitatively and quantitatively better. Do both.
So if they are not satisfied with the quality, so they should keep chanting those minimum rounds, or they should
It's
strive
not a
us.
fixed rule. It's not do this, don't do that. It's not a rigid thing. Sometimes increasing quantity helps with quality. Sometimes increasing, focusing on quality inspires you to do more quantity.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
One question over here, and then I think we're going to end. You have something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. Hare Krishna.
Chanting loudly is better.
How loudly?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Okay. I got the picture.
And I have other question.
Wait. Let me do one at a time. Here's a Prabhupada story. Do you know who Giriraj Maharaj is? You know who he is? You've heard his name?
I heard his name.
Prabhupada disciple. So some years ago, he was a brahmachari and I was a brahmachari. We were brahmacharis together in the Boston temple. He used to chant loudly, japa, and people would complain because it was, there was disturbing their japa in the temple room. So he wrote to Prabhupada a letter. Is it okay? And Prabhupada's answer was, chanting should be done audibly, not so that you're disturbing other people in the room, and chanting swiftly it helps to capture the mind, but not so swiftly you can't hear every syllable. So, chanting loudly helps, audibly helps capture the mind, and chanting swiftly helps capture the mind. However, there are some people that like chanting softly, and that's fine. The essence is, how attentive are you? And if softly helps you, if audibly, loudly helps you,
As long as I'm not disturbing others. in the
yeah,
house.
yeah,
So other question I have, 16 mantra. I'm not able to do all 16.
okay,
Sometimes I do only 6 or 7.
okay,
Then I do rest in the evening.
okay,
I come back from work.
very good,
So that's okay.
yeah. What's important in numerical is same something every day, and as time passes and you have been maintaining the same something every day, you incrementally increase to something that's a little bit more. It's a little bit of a stretch, but doable and maintainable. And you follow that standard. And don't be it's not a race. You're not competing with anybody or something. It's just, it's your relationship with Krishna, and you make your relationship with Krishna strong and firm. And little by little.
Thank you.
Okay?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is our last question.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Maharaj, I have a question related to chanting. So when the sound enters the heart, is that when we realize self as well as Krishna? Is that when?
When the sound goes first,
Into
let me just add it a little bit. First, the sound goes into your ear. Okay, you're making the sound goes into the ear. You're hearing attentively, and then it goes into the heart. And then what?
Then would we realize self and Krishna?
It depends. Krishna can do whatever he wants to do. You'll feel his presence. You'll feel his presence. But the nature of that realization is up to Krishna. He can reveal himself more or less, or somewhere in between. But it's the connection, that realization of feeling connected to Krishna is there. All right?
Thank you.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.